Alright, Jammer here with a review of Omega Boost for the original PlayStation. A third-person, arcade-style shooter with a focus on two systems of locking on. Lock on by camera and lock on by weapons. Because most stages involve waves of enemies attacking at unpredictable angles, it helps to be able to seek and lock on to enemies. So, by pressing the L1 button, the camera snaps onto the nearest target, but the player is still free to fly and aim his or her needlessly bipedal giant robot around. Hovering the aiming reticule over or near targets results in them being tagged, such that pressing the square button releases a plethora of missiles that home in and destroy their targets in an impressive display for its time. As the game proceeds level by level, and more enemies and challenges are thrown at the player is granted more targets to tag at a time in order to help even the odds. Moreover, the player has the option of firing a machine gun instead of the homing missiles by instead rapidly tapping the square button. Or the player can unleash the ship's special attack by pressing the L2 button, resulting in the ship becoming a glowing stream of particles that automatically rams targets. The R1 button allows the ship to either advance or stop moving, depending on the settings in the options screen, and the circle button allows for a quick dash away from enemy fire. So what results is a furious mix of locking on, firing, dodging and getting into better position, clearing out smaller enemies, and picking apart larger ones that materialize so frequently that you would think that this is a game by Treasure, but in fact it's by Polyphony Digital, which is the company most known for the Gran Turismo games. As you can see from the footage, however, the camera can rotate in a rather topsy-turvy fashion, so those who get motion sickness easily might not be able to enjoy this game. What Omega Boost captures for me in gameplay form is the experience seen in some giant robot anime in which a seemingly clumsy robot nevertheless flies gracefully, dodges a multitude of enemy missiles, and retaliates with a much more effective onslaught of artillery. And I haven't played any other game that really comes even close to nailing this scenario quite like Omega Boost. Zone of the Ender is the second runner sort of tries to, but for me Zo 2 controls more like an adventure game, whereas in Omega Boost you feel more like you're piloting a ship. This is especially true since the left analog stick, or less effectively the D-pad, controls similarly to how a plane might. Where Omega Boost is lacking a bit is in charm. Sure, there are these cheesy full-motion video scenes before the title that remind me of those pre-mission videos in Warhawk. And the story is pretty ridiculous. The player's trying to travel back in time to stop some evil artificial intelligence from corrupting the very first computer. But in-game, it's mostly just robots destroying other robots. The effects are pretty impressive for its time, and the gameplay is great. And the load times are extremely short, which does make sense since this is a relatively late release for the PlayStation, and the polish really shows. And there is a sprinkling of silliness of giant robot anime, like having a rival, but not a whole lot beyond that. But you might find that as a blessing in disguise, since you don't have to listen to any whiny teenagers or pop stars who can only sing 2 songs when playing the game. So, for me, this was a great buy, and a cheap one too. I got it for $6 or $7 on eBay, shipping included. The game isn't very long, but that's to be expected in an arcade-style game. I played the game by refusing to use continues, which would reset the score to 0 and instead try for a high score, inching a bit more in the game and getting a bit better with each playthrough. So, I got quite a bit of time with the game before finally beating it, and the last level was particularly difficult. But despite having to replay the levels, I always found it fun each time, not tedious. I'm surprised that this game isn't available on the PlayStation Network given its developer, but at least it's easy to find and affordable nowadays. Have a good one.